Welcome back to another episode of BSing Sports Season 2, Episode 3 with our co-host, with my co-host, Bill Brandt, and his younger brother, Timothy, who is our seasonal host. What's up, Timmy?
What up, Brian? How you been?
First show together this season. As Bill probably touched on before, I sporadically got to watch last week's show. Tim was our first guest on ever, so welcome back, buddy. Today, we're just going to BS a whole lot of sports. We have no general topic, so feel free, if you are watching this show, to ask as many questions as you want because we're not really going in any direction here. But I guess we'll start with the Astros threw a combined no-hitter today and no-hit the Yankees and beat them 3-0 in the Yankee Stadium. Hector Neris was involved with that. And as we touched on a little bit before the show, my opinion of Hector Neris – yeah, he's doing really well in Houston, but ultimately that's one of those losses you will gladly take as a Philly fan because you knew it just wasn't going to work out in Philadelphia.
Yeah, point blank, exactly the way you said it. He had been here for, 8 years, and it just didn't work out. He's having great success over there in Houston. So good for him, good for Hector Neris. Starter Christian Javier struck out 13 over 7 scoreless innings, and then Ryan Presley threw a 1-2-3 ninth inning to finish out that combined no-hitter for the Astros over the Yankees.
Which is impressive because the Yankees are the best team in MLB right now.
Yeah, and led by their AL MVP candidate, Aaron Judge, who's having a stellar season.
Who also just settled a contract dispute for $19 million plus incentives.
I saw that.
Yeah, and obviously, he's worth more than that. But he's having the type of year, that any $2 billion owner really is going to be looking out for in the free agent market. The Mets, the Red Sox. Maybe the Phillies, who knows? Doubt it. We already have corner outfielders, but he's having a stellar season for sure. Him, Mike Trout, the usuals at the top of the list in the AL. Shohei's up there, Vladdy Jr. as well. Switch over to the NL. The Phillies' winning streak finally came to an end. And then their losing streak finally came to an end. Their losing streak, thankfully, was much shorter than their winning streak. They won Thursday night against the Padres 6-2. They actually beat Joe Musgrove, which was kind of a surprise, handed him his first loss of the season. How do we make of the Phillies' month of June since it's pretty much over at this point?
Go ahead, Tim. You can fire away first.
It's going really well, in my opinion. I haven't been able to catch a lot of games lately, but all I know is they've been playing good baseball. You got Schwarber, he loved the month of June. His numbers are ridiculous in June.
They needed to be.
Yeah. Castellanos is struggling right now, and he will figure it out eventually, obviously. Everyone struggles in MLB at one point in their career, as he pointed out to Alex Byrne before. Blank. Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, I mean, look, let's not beat around the bush here. June started with them firing Joe Girardi. They had just come off one win against a really bad Diamondbacks team. And then they go on to win 14 out of 15, 15 out of 17. And it's extremely impressive. Now, since then, they've been 6-4, which is still good. You're winning series, which is important. However, they did just go to Texas, or they did just go to the Rangers. And lose a 2-game set to the Rangers, who haven't been phenomenal this year. So, I mean, you'd like to see that not happen. However, then you turn around and, as Ryan pointed out, you go into San Diego the first night, you beat an NL Cy Young candidate at this point in Joe Musgrove, and you do it pretty convincingly. You put up 6 runs on him. Unfortunately,
Muto blast.
Say that again.
Taco.
Sorry?
Real Muto blast when Oppo Taco in that 5-run 6th inning, I think it was.
Yes, he in fact did. Last night, Aaron Nola pitches a gem. Unfortunately, he gets absolutely no run support. The team loses 1-0. And I mean,
the only RBI in that game was by his brother,
which is
yeah.
It's like a bittersweet moment.
Aaron punched him out in the what was it, 2nd inning? So I guess that's a little bit of revenge.
Yeah, true.
No, well,
I know they train together in the offseason like all the time.
I mean, obviously,
it makes sense. I mean, in theory, like if you're going to have, like a brotherhood, you're probably both going to be outfielders, or you're both like one of you is going to pitch and one of you is going to catch, because nothing else really makes any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, Aaron Nola once again caught Cole Hamel syndrome. But yeah, he had a fantastic month of June as well. I think he's got one more start slated in the month. But yeah, he had a fantastic month of June. He really needed it. Outside of the San Francisco start where he gave up 5 earned, fantastic. I don't think he gave up more than 2 earned runs in any of his other starts. So.
Yeah, he really put himself back in the category of an ace here in this past month. We just need to make sure it continues.
Don't say that.
It needs to continue.
Yeah, it does need to continue, but he's definitely not in an ace category. It's not close.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, the rest of the NL, the East at least, is shaking out very similar to the way the Phillies June went. The Mets kept winning, the Braves kept winning, Marlins kept winning. So the East, they didn't really gain any ground.
They gained a little. I'd say they gained a little bit right now.
So when they started their little run, they were 12 games back in the division for first place. Now they're only 9, but they were 8 games back on the Braves, and now they're only 5 games back on the Braves. So you're right; they did gain some ground.
And they're like 2.5 games out of a wild card spot or something like that.
That is correct. They are 2.5 games out of the final wild card spot.
Which realistically, talent-wise, is probably like right where they sit. I think we discussed this on our MLB predictions. The Mets are definitely the more talented team. They just get injured a lot, and that's kind of where I figured they would go. However, due to Scherzer and DeGrom not being available, they still keep winning games. So maybe they found a way to finally work around those injuries.
That's better. Okay, I didn't like the other way. I had to fix it. Yeah, obviously, as you pointed out, Tim can elaborate a little bit more on this. You guys know pitching more than I do. I was a catcher and a fielder, which makes sense for what you just said. Timmy was a pitcher. I ended up playing catcher. Yeah, Scherzer and DeGrom, obviously 2 of the best pitchers in baseball right now, and they've just been winning games without them, which is impressive.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I'm going to say Ryan's a better pitcher than I am. I moved to third base around like 14 years old.
And then moved to the outfield in high school and made that ridiculous not catch that was ruled a catch. Don't lie.
I caught that. No way, I caught that.
Who's pitching better, Wheeler or Nola right now? I mean, Wheeler's still pitching good, but I mean, Nola had a better month of June, I'd say, overall.
Yeah, I gotta say that too.
I mean, the Dodgers are always in contention. They spend the money for it, and since they won last year and upgraded at first base, I mean, they're never not going to be in contention. I mean, Kershaw's still pitching absolutely phenomenal at 35 years old. That whole team, just top to bottom, they're deep. They're always going to be in contention. But baseball's a weird sport. You play a 7-game series for a reason. So
I mean, look what happened to Braves last year.
That's right. Braves got hot at the right time. Just get in and
That's true. That being said, yeah. Who do you think wins it all this year, based on what you guys have seen?
I gotta say the Yankees, unfortunately.
Actually, I'm not saying the Yankees. They've been good across the league, but in their own division, they've struggled a little bit. So for me, because you're going to absolutely have to play the Blue Jays or the Rays or the Red Sox in the playoffs, the Yankees don't get over that hump.
Bill, can you pull up that comment real quick?
Yeah.
Didn't Mike Trout sign 14 years with the Angels?
He did.
Yeah, he's on a 12-year no movement clause, my guy.
Okay.
So he's Mike Trout's locked in LA for life, just not your LA. He's locked in the other LA for life, not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Just like Bryce Harper's locked into Philadelphia, not really going anywhere.
Correct.
And the Angels aren't the team to eat, $400 million.
That's a little bit of a big chunk to eat. I mean, they're already eating Rendon's contract, which I'm sure they regret giving him.
At the time, I didn't think it was a bad deal. I was like, all right, Rendon, seems to be progressing every year. But as he got the Albert Pujols curse, since he's been in LA, he's been terrible.
Yeah.
Awful, not playing great baseball. They're doomed because they have the best two-way player in baseball and the best player in baseball. They can't get any other talent there.
That's what happens.
Unfortunate for the organization as well as Mike Trout, though, because since he is locked in, as we just mentioned, can't deal him for any prospects or anything like that. So can't really rebuild. You got to just ride that one out.
Yeah.
Could deal Ohtani for relatively good chunk back, though, just because he's on a cheaper contract, being on the international stage and whatnot. They didn't give him that $35-40 million a year.
That might be the route that they have to go, especially if they want to try and win something with Mike Trout on the roster. They're not going to do it with the roster that they currently have. They can't keep giving support in mediocre ways around him and hoping that he's just going to carry the team to a World Series. You're going to have to get pieces, and in order to get pieces, you got to give away good players. And in order to do that, you have to say goodbye.
They either got to start a rebuild like next year, or they have to go all out in free agency and make all kinds of ridiculous trades. Unfortunately, to my knowledge, I don't believe that they have the farm system to do the trades, for a win now. So it is what it is.
What do you want to talk about, Timmy?
It's like a never-ending swirl of Angels misery.
It's like a circle.
I didn't hear you, Bill. What?
What do you want to talk about, Timmy?
Say sports, bro. Like with your smart ass.
Let's go to football with Deshaun Watson. You got something about him?
I'm not touching it.
All right, that's fine. I'll go into it. So 20, unless you don't want me to, for any specific reason.
Go ahead.
All right, so 20 of the 24 sexual assault allegation females from Deshaun Watson in the Texas area, Houston area, have settled. That word is very specific because what that says is that they've been in a room with a lawyer, Deshaun Watson's lawyer, said, hey, if you pay me X amount of dollars, we'll shut up. We won't say anything. And it's extremely unfortunate. Now, 4 of those, and keep in mind, these are just the original 24. These aren't the additional 2 that have come out in the last couple of months.
Well, the initial amount was 22, and then it went up to 24.
Sorry, apologies.
Yeah.
But that still leaves 4 of them who have not, quote unquote, settled. And this is just a really bad look on the NFL. They're having an entire meeting and assessment on Tuesday to decide what kind of punishment he has. However, when Calvin Ridley got caught gambling, I know that there's like a no tolerance policy on gambling, but how is there not a no tolerance policy on sexual assault allegations in the NFL?
I think the key word there is allegations. Like, they had proof that Calvin Ridley gambled. It's a much bigger matter. I think it's a little bit more. It requires a little bit more detail when you talk about sexual assault allegations. More goes into it because we have seen in the past, and I'm not saying that this is what happened, where people just want the payday.
That, you know what, and that's entirely fair. However, at this point, it's pretty damning evidence to say that it likely happened. Sorry,
and more on the business side of football, there was a clause in the contract that worded something very specific. If Deshaun Watson had any other, individuals come out and any more cases arise against him after he got traded to Cleveland, they could potentially out that contract that they gave him. And the 23rd and 24th people did, in fact, come out after he was traded to Cleveland and signed the contract. So I'm curious now as to whether the Browns are going to let this play out. Or if they're just going to cut him outright. I imagine if it's an indefinite suspension or anything longer than a year, they probably just nix the contract and move on.
Yeah, and that's what I assume is going to happen. I think he should be suspended for well longer than 1 season, and if he does, I think you're right. The Browns just eliminate that contract and get rid of it. However, the picks that they traded away are still gone.
Yeah, I keep referencing, and not to not get you into the topic, Tim, but I keep referencing the Trevor Bauer thing because it's a very similar, parallel thing, except for the fact that Deshaun Watson did it 24 times and Trevor Bauer did it once. That case also settled, and Trevor Bauer was suspended for 2 years. Now, he appealed that, obviously, and I believe that appeal is waiting specifically for the Deshaun Watson incident because if Deshaun Watson only gets suspended a year, Trevor Bauer is going to go back to the MLB and be like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I agree with that.
So, I mean, I know it's cross sports. There's probably, good on the MLB for, getting a big suspension out there right away, kind of setting the precedent. However, Trevor Bauer is going to have all the ammo he needs if Deshaun Watson's not only suspended a year.
Yeah, and you're right.
Which actually is long overdue, I think. I think he got suspended last April or May.
Yeah,
my memory serves me right.
Yeah, honestly, for me, it's just a really terrible look for the NFL. And it's point blank. Goodell has let this drag on way too long. You've let too many things be unknowns and let it happen and fall the way you did. It's just a terrible look for a multi-billion-dollar company that is like one of the biggest money factors in the United States right now, and not even just in the world. Like the NFL is so huge, and you've let this drag on as long as you did. It's an absolutely horrendous look.
The Super Bowl is the most watched finals or championship of any sport. So
yeah.
So let me ask you a question. If Deshaun Watson does get suspended for more than a year, they drop the case.
Yeah, that's what Ryan was alluding. That's what Ryan was alluding to. He believes that after if Deshaun Watson is suspended for more than a year, the Browns are likely to terminate his contract and not have to pay him anything at all, which is great for the Browns, except for the fact that they still gave those picks away to the Texans, and the Texans get to keep them.
Yeah, I was going to ask what they're going to do about the quarterback situation at that point.
Brissett will play. They seem committed on getting Baker out of there. They don't want to amend that relationship.
They've already said that it's been stated several times, and NFL's been covering it for the last couple of days. NFL Network, sorry. That the Jimmy Garoppolo Baker Mayfield situation is they're both likely to be released by the time training camp comes around, and they'll both be on new teams probably relatively quickly because they're probably already in talks with these teams.
Carolina and obviously Cleveland, jump out. I mean, Baker could go to Carolina and Jimmy could go to Cleveland. I think Jimmy's an upgrade over Brissett, and I think Baker's honestly an upgrade over Darnold or whoever, even Corral, who hasn't even played a game. So
that's an interesting take coming from Tanya here. She's saying that hopefully Browns fans back up the sexual assault situation with the females, especially if they have daughters, and just choose to boycott Browns games.
Unfortunately, that won't get the following it should, but I imagine something on a minor scale will happen like that. But this is a business. This is the NFL. People genuinely care. And myself included, I'm sure you two would feel the same way about yourselves. People give a shit way too much about football. So they're going to show up. Unfortunately, they're going to show up. Their fan base will be minimally impacted by this. Again, not as much as it should be.
So, Ryan, you asked me, Billy, in the group chat earlier
About Tom Brady?
About Tom Brady.
Yeah, so here's my question to everybody. If you play Dynasty Fantasy Football, should you even bother acquiring Tom Brady if you're even if you're a contender who's got Joe Burrow or Matt Stafford or Justin Herbert and you're one other quarterback short of win, should you even bother? He's 1 year. Any asset you give up potentially could be more valuable.
Are you talking about a super flex league?
Yeah, always super flex. Super flex is the way to go.
My personal opinion, I would. If I'm contending that year to win, I'm getting Tom Brady.
I'm on the fence about it. I could argue both sides, and I know Bill just said he wouldn't. So let's start this grand argument, shall we?
I would not trade for Tom Brady. He's on a year-to-year deal. At best, you get 2 years out of him, and depends on who you're trading away. So the specific trade that Ryan showed us was Ryan Tannehill in a third or a second or something like that.
No, it's Ryan Tannehill for Brady and a third.
Sorry, so it was Ryan Tannehill for Brady in a third. We have to assume at this point that Tannehill is still the answer in Tennessee. He's had a winning record every year he's been there. He's gotten better every year he's been there. You have to assume that Ryan Tannehill is going to be there for at least, let's call it 3 or 4 more years, especially since he signed that deal last year. One.
I don't agree with that.
1. 2, Tom Brady, again, on a very short contract. You're talking year to year, maybe 2 years at best you get out of Tom Brady, and he does not have the running factor like Ryan Tannehill does. So you're talking about a super flex league in Dynasty. Ryan Tannehill, to me, is the better option there.
Low-key, Tannehill's rushed for 14 touchdowns the last 2 years.
I had him in my fantasy league, I know.
But Ryan
Tannehill gets don't. I don't think Ryan Tannehill has that talent to get them out of the playoffs to the Super Bowl.
But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about. Hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
That's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about what time Ryan Tannehill is significantly doing for Tennessee. We're talking about what those 2 players could do for my fantasy roster.
But it does have an impact because it impacts how long Tannehill is going to be the quarterback in Tennessee. I'll ask you your question first, Bill. Here's why I'm on the side. So you would not trade for Tom Brady. There's nothing stating that Ryan Tannehill's the starter after this year. I think we can all agree that he is the starter this year. There's nothing stating that he's going to start after this year, or else they wouldn't have drafted a quarterback if they really felt he was the long-term answer. So who would you rather have for 1 year, Brady or Tannehill?
Tannehill brings the running aspect. For me, in that kind of a super flex league, if we're talking very specifically super flex league, you got to look at the running ability of Tannehill versus Tom Brady. So for me, in that scenario alone, if I'm getting 1 year out of both of them, Ryan Tannehill.
Wow, I need to trade Ryan Tannehill ASAP.
I don't have
Tim, let me ask you a question, though.
Okay,
so you're going to make the move because you're a contender. You feel you're a quarterback short.
Yes.
There's no guarantee that you win the championship just by making that move because anything can happen. What assets are you giving up for Brady?
I'm giving another quarterback, obviously. So let's say, for instance, my one team I'm in from a league that we're in. I'm ranked first to contend out of the whole league, and my one weak spot in a super flex is a quarterback. I'm giving up my weak quarterback, and at max, if I'm really desperate, a first round pick.
Ooh. Mm-mm.
If I'm really desperate.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
I need to trade you, Brady.
No.
But you go back on Bill's statement that he much rather have Tannehill than Brady. Tom Brady.
I did not say much rather. Did not say much rather.
Sorry.
Okay, so you would rather have Tannehill than Brady. Tannehill, even with his rushing upside, finished as QB 12 last year. Brady was QB 5.
I'm sorry, QB3.
Yeah, he was QB 3. He was behind Herbert and Allen.
Yep. Above Mahomes and Bo.
The volume that they just throw is incredible. And he's an incredible quarterback, and they have incredible receivers. I personally, if it was 1 year, I would take Brady. However, there's no guarantee that Ryan Tannehill's only around for a year. We know he'll at least be in the NFL next year, so that's kind of
True.
the plus side of that. But
the old man's Tannehill too.
I also believe Ryan Tannehill's one of the 32 best quarterbacks in the NFL, even with this draft class and possibly next. So I feel like even if he's not in Tennessee next year, he'll have a job.
How long do you think Brady going to retire?
No, he's done after this year. This is absolutely his last year. He just signed that, $30 million a year contract to go be a Fox analyst.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
In addition, I think the only reason he came back after deciding to retire was because somebody reported it before he got to say it. And that's Tom Brady. That's Tom Brady's style.
I said that Tom Brady is that level of petty.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right.
We've seen it before. So, but yeah, I think it's for 1 year. Give me Brady. But that's why I asked for the pick in return and not anything significant. Just because we know Tannehill's going to be in the NFL next year, and we know Brady's probably not going to be.
Now, having said that argument is very specific to the Tannehill Brady one. Brady versus other quarterbacks in the league is not as significant. So obviously, if I said that I was going to take Tannehill over Brady, I'm going to take most quarterbacks over Brady at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I'm mostly referring to quarterbacks who pretty much only have one more year to play, like Baker. Say Baker goes to Carolina and he's the starter. We know he's probably only the starter for a year. Jimmy G is probably only the starter for a year wherever he goes. Drew Lock, Geno's guys who probably are only going to start for a year. And then they're going to get replaced because next year's quarterback draft class is supposed to be significantly better than this past year's.
In that specific scenario, I go Brady. However, Tannehill to me is still better than those guys because of his running aspect. And in that scenario, Brady or Tannehill over Brady for a 1 year deal. 1 year.
All right. So talking about 1 year, Mitch Trubisky or Tom Brady. Now we're going to play the or Tom Brady episode. Mitch Trubisky or Tom Brady?
Tom Brady.
Oh, I'm sorry. Tom Brady.
Yeah. Okay. So we already did Tannehill. You guys are split on that. Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady?
Aaron Rodgers.
I am not a Rodgers fan, and I really have never been a Rodgers fan. I know what he does, and I know he's phenomenal. However, you've been a quarterback in Green Bay for almost
what he did with Devontae Adams.
And that's where I'm at on this one, which is why I would go Brady.
I would also go Brady because, the swirling rumors that this is Aaron Rodgers last year as well. He's not – I don't feel like he's the type of diva that would go out and need a ceremonious exit. I feel like he would just leave.
I get your point. I just think –
And there's even the longevity of it, that there's no shot that Rodgers retires next year, there's no guarantee that Rodgers retires next year. So he might have even the longevity of QB 12. Even if he has borderline QB1 play for 3 years, it's still more valuable than Brady for 1. So that being said, Drew Lock, Geno Smith, I feel like those answers are kind of obvious. Everybody would take Brady. So here's an interesting one. Jimmy Garoppolo or Tom Brady?
I'm taking
now, mind you, we all hate Jimmy Garoppolo as a quarterback. Dude's a winner, so he's probably going to find a job anywhere.
Yeah, so for me, that really depends on where he goes. Now, we've already discussed how Carolina is likely who gets Jimmy Garoppolo. Brady, the weapons around Brady are better.
I'm taking Brady too. I agree with Bill there. I think
No, look, listen, Carolina's got a talented roster.
I'd probably take Garoppolo.
why.
Longevity. Like I said, he's going to have a job anywhere. The dude's a winner. Like, yeah, he doesn't play whole seasons, but he wins everywhere he goes. Like, he has like 10 career losses as a starter.
That is very true.
Because say Aaron Rodgers plays one more year, right? Garoppolo plays this next year in Carolina. Who's to say he doesn't go up to Green Bay after that? The whole landscape changes.
Or even Tampa Bay.
Yeah, he could go to Tampa.
That's
same weapons. Right.
Solid take on it.
Like the thing that I think about is, do these people realistically have a chance to start past this year? Trubisky, probably not. The Steelers just spent a first round pick on a quarterback. They're going to give him a job.
Who probably takes over
Halfway
before
through
the
the
season.
season. Yeah.
I don't think Trubisky's that bad. This is easily the best wide receiver group he's ever played with. I think he makes it at least a year. Best coach, best wide receiver group, best team that he's ever played on.
I would concur with all of those things. You don't spend
That offensive line isn't that good though.
Oh no, they're garbage. But Trubisky has some running ability, so
True.
I don't think Trubisky starts past this year though. I think he spends the second year of his contract on the Steelers on the bench.
I'm going to agree with Ryan on this now
I'm not.
because they're not going to throw the first round quarterback into that offensive line to get murdered.
No
They're
shot.
going to use an older guy who has a little bit of experience, who can run around and get away and knows how to get rid of the ball. Wow, I want to say know how to get rid of the ball. But
Yeah, he knows how to get rid of the ball. Which team it's going to go to is
Listen, for what it's worth, Mitch Trubisky took a worse Bears team to the playoffs and almost beat the Eagles in his playoff debut. Double doink, right? Like, we know it. We're Eagles fans. We know the double doink. Trubisky put his team in a position to win. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback. I'm saying that with the way history has played out in the NFL, that first round pick sitting on the bench for a full season will not stand. We will see Kenny Pickett starting for the Steelers by the end of the season. Mark my words.
So you can say the same thing.
mark your words, huh?
Mark my words.
So you can say the same thing about the Falcons too.
No, because Desmond Ridder was a third round pick.
Correct. Kenny Pickett was the first.
Draft capital matters. If you're a day one
Okay.
pick, it means a lot. If you're a day two pick, yeah, same thing with Malik Willis and Matt Corral. There's no
Exactly.
guarantee.
Exactly.
Okay.
I think those guys were intent. I think. Oh yeah, speaking of 1 year quarterbacks, Marcus Mariota or Tom Brady.
I'm taking Tom Brady.
I'm taking Mariota.
I'm taking Mariota.
Yeah, I'm taking Mariota too. Especially if the Falcons stay true to their word, talking about they got designed running plays for Mariota. We know Mariota's a better runner than Tannehill or
You're right.
Trubisky.
You're right.
Yeah. I'm taking Mariota. Yeah.
I actually think they do okay too between Pitts and London.
Yeah. Yeah, I should have took the trade off I got for Pitch the other day, but I didn't.
What trade offer was that?
It's in that group chat.
That's that
Please
group.
bring it
Huh?
We talk a lot, Tim. Like, it's tough for me to just go back and find a group chat.
Yeah, I can do it quicker than you. I can go find pictures.
Yeah. No, not that one. Not that one. Pitts and
All of
Haskins,
our pictures are
McCaffrey and Schultz.
Yeah, that one.
Oh
Pitts
yeah,
and
McCaffrey and Schultz for Pitts and Haskins. Oh yeah, I'd have smashed accept on that. You're a dummy.
I know. I should have took it. I would have had.
I don't know why he.
But my problem is I don't have that good of running backs.
You could have traded around that, buddy.
You're right.
What league was that? Let me see. I'm trying to check your team now.
Yeah,
What league?
I'm about to text Ty right now. What's up?
It was DT, Drunk Traders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see your team.
But while we're trying to do all that fantasy football stuff, we can have more.
To be fair, you could just overpay for another Cleveland Browns running back.
Yeah.
Listen.
So the comment.
8.
How about
Before we go
nicknames
ahead.
in the NFL?
Yeah. So the comment that's on the screen is there was something circulating around.
Top
Facebook.
10 games of all time in the NFL.
Yeah,
Dick
top
Night
10
Train
dead
named
ends
the first
in
one.
the NFL of all time. Number 1 was Dick Lane, the Night Train. Number 2 was Christian Okoye for Nightmare. Number 3 was our boy Weapon X, Brian Dawkins. Number 4, which I'm not even that big of a fan of, Cam Chancellor's Bam Bam Cam. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that one's overrated. That's not a good name.
What should have been number 1, hands down, is Nick Foles, Big Dick Nick. Should have been hands down.
Yeah,
number
I kind
I
of
was at that
agree
parade
with
saying that. I was at the parade saying that.
I do like Jerome Bettis as the bus.
Yeah, that's a classic nickname.
Revis Island, Darrell Revis, corner.
Overrated.
Correct. Deion Sanders, primetime. He had been primetime.
That should have been number 2.
Yes, I agree. Primetime should have been number 2. I know he played for Dallas, and we're not supposed to like him, but man, he was exciting to watch. Reggie White,
the Minister of Defense. That's underrated. That's top 5 easy.
Should have been in my opinion, number 4. Dock at 3 is probably the only one that's accurate here.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Derrick Henry, King Henry is overrated for me as well.
I agree.
I think that one's solid. I think King Henry, I think it's solid. I wouldn't.
And I love his.
I mean, honestly, think of a better nickname. Since it's ranked number 10, you only need one to kick it out of the top 10. Think of a better nickname.
Well, see, because it's individual names, I'm thinking of like full name, like the Purple People Eaters and stuff like that, like Legion of Boom. Like those are good nicknames for like a squad.
I don't know. I think Too Tall Jones would have been a good one.
The fridge.
Yeah, for Richard Dent. Yeah.
Yeah. Timmy don't know this. Timmy does.
Yeah, Too Tall Jones. I think his first name is Larry.
Larry Jones. Yep.
Yeah. Larry Jones. Yeah, there's probably a couple that I you could probably replace in that area. Yeah. Perry. Yeah, Refrigerator Perry. That's what it was.
What else we got, fellas?
I mean, I'm in the middle of making comments about how Timmy overpaid for Cleveland Browns backup running back. So we can
continue.
Listen. Kareem Hunt was running back 8 before he got hurt last year. Higher than Nick Chubb.
Last year?
Last year he was running back 8 before he got hurt.
I know he was an RB1 the year before that.
Last year before he got hurt, he was running back 8.
Also, who's their QB?
No one now. But
exactly.
Kind of a big deal.
Like Amari Cooper is about to get hyper targeted like a mofo. He's just not going to be able to move the ball.
I got him too. So,
I mean, still a first-round pick for a 26-year-old running back doesn't sit well, especially for one that you're only starting on principle because I called you out that he's not even going to be in your starting lineup.
He has to be now. He's my next highest score since I traded Allen Robinson away.
I mean,
I'm okay with Justin Fields.
Oh, I like Justin Fields. Actually, let's talk about that because there's a lot of people that are down on Justin Fields. I really like Justin Fields.
Go ahead, Bill. I know you're not a fan of Fields.
Real life and fantasy. However, I'm not sure about Matt Eberflus. That's the only.
I'm not convinced on Justin Fields. He had way more flashes of really bad than he had flashes of even mediocre last year. When it was rumored that the Eagles might go out and get Justin Fields last year, nice catch. I was like, no, please don't go get Justin Fields. I really didn't want him. Ryan, you and I had to talk about it on the show. I didn't want Justin Fields at all. And I stand real tall on not wanting Justin Fields on my team. Again, he showed flashes of being way worse than good last year. So for me, I'm 100% out on Fields. There aren't any leagues that I would draft him in unless I was like super handcuffed and absolutely needed a quarterback. I haven't seen enough from him to be like, yeah, you know what? Let me go get Justin Fields. Look, he could turn into something. But from what I've seen so far, now I'm out.
But him and Lawrence in the same situation were not set up for success, either one of them. Their coaches were terrible. The teams were not great. I mean.
So, Bill, David Mills or Justin Fields?
Yeah, Davis Mills or Justin Fields?
Mills.
Oh, my God. That
Can you explain?
Give me Mills right now.
Give you Mills?
Trade him to Bill.
I traded him to the SB guy.
All right.
Well, Justin Fields.
So first of all, I'm quarterback strong in all of my leagues. So telling me you're going to trade me a quarterback is wrong.
Yeah.
Secondly.
Yeah, that's fair. You like all of our leagues, you are very quarterback strong.
Secondly, what Davies Mills has been able to do in his short time as a starter on an absolutely horrendous Houston Texans team, extremely satisfying.
He has a better wide receiver than either Justin Fields or Trevor Lawrence have had to this point in their career. Brandon Cooks is a much better wide receiver than Darnell Mooney, Allen Robinson, Marvin Jones.
Okay.
So, I mean,
Well, and we're
completely
talking about
horrendous,
we're
it has
talking
the
about it
best
as a
weapon out
but
of
we're
all of
talking
them.
about it as a whole, right? So you're telling me right here, right now, where I'm looking from fantasy, would I take Davies Mills or Justin Fields, regardless of who the receiving core is? I've decided Davies Mills, and you're giving me another reason why I would want to take Davies Mills.
Oh no, Justin Fields all day. I mean, the rushing upside is there.
Nah.
I
But
mean,
you
you
would
are doing rushing upside against Tom Brady, but now when we're
exactly.
talking about Davis Mills, you
Yeah.
siding with him?
Yeah. I'm not a Justin Fields fan. Now listen, if you throw Trevor Lawrence into that mix, I'm taking Trevor Lawrence.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He's the best quarterback prospect since Andrew
Yeah.
Luck. I think he's about to have an amazing season.
I agree. Doug Peterson's going to do
Low
great
season
things.
for Trevor Lawrence. 2 first-round picks in the Superflex League gets it done.
Yeah.
What else you got? Do we want to go back to baseball real quick?
Yeah, let's answer that question. We're going
So
all
who do
over.
the Phillies bring up to replace Eflin if we get back to baseball? Eflin is not hurt yet,
I mean, he came out with a knee injury the other day.
and he's starting tonight.
I think they need to put him on a DL.
They're going to let him pitch 3 or 4 innings, and then we're going to get to see Mark Appel. Hopefully, Appel pitches really well. Ryan has more history on Appel. He was drafted in 2012 as a first-round pick.
2013, number 1 overall to the Houston Astros, traded to the Phillies in 2015, designated for assignment in 2017, left baseball in 2019, and now he's back. He was my favorite pitcher growing up when he was at Stanford. Him and when Kevin Gausman was at LSU, I actually modeled my windup after Mark Appel's. So,
Hey, buddy, turn your mic around. It's actually supposed to be the blue is supposed to be facing you.
you sure?
100%.
Does it
Talk.
matter?
It does. You sound better now. Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
He left baseball for personal. Can you bring the comment up?
Yeah. Sorry.
He left baseball for personal reasons. He was kind of having, the pressure of the number 1 overall pick was kind of getting to him, and he definitely wasn't, filling those shoes by any means necessary. I mean, he's making his major league debut at 30 years old. So, but it happens in baseball. It's probably the most failed out sport. So,
it's really hard to get to the show.
Anyone.
You're talking 1,100 players are in the Major League Baseball right now roster, and really in the minor leagues, there's probably another.
Baseball's been around since 1869,
Yeah.
and it just hit over 20,000 players 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's hard to get to the show.
They give you every opportunity to fail in baseball, whereas a first-round pick in the NFL, they give you every opportunity to succeed.
Well, not for every first-round pick.
Baseball is different.
I mean, look at Carson Wentz.
True.
He's a terrible teammate. We've kind of figured that out at this point. He's going to keep starting everywhere he goes.
True. You're right.
Because when he does start,
Jared Goff, who's even worse talent-wise.
True. All right.
Yeah. Oh, here's a great question for you. Did the Eagles dodge a bullet drafting Wentz over Goff? I know that Goff was off the table, but hypothetically, the Rams take Wentz there. We get Goff. Do you think it would have turned out the same, worse, or better?
I think it would turn out better because we want to have all that drama. Because after the second year, golf wouldn't be a factor in my eyes, and we would have drafted a quarterback either way.
I go back and forth. I thought about that question myself.
So here's my take on it, right? The year that Carson Wentz was likely to win the MVP had he not got hurt, Jared Goff also had a career season.
That's kind of why I go back and forth on it. Is it's not like Jared Goff has just been trashed his entire career. He's been to a Super Bowl. Granted, he was carried there for the most part, but
listen, the following year, Jared Goff took the Rams to the Super Bowl. So the 2018 Super Bowl was the number 1 overall pick, Jared Goff. The 2017 would have been number 2 overall pick, Carson Wentz. But instead, it's all history at this point. Big Dick Nick, the Philly special.
I'll say I'm happy it played out the way it did.
We got a Super Bowl out of it.
Yep.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
But it is interesting to think about. I mean, I think Frank Reich being in Philadelphia would have maximized Jared Goff's talent. So I could see the situations turning out relatively the same.
Okay.
I like it. What else we got? Oh, let's talk about the real quick. Let's touch on the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Tampa survived.
Tampa
a veteran move, might I say, because Corey Perry, who's been in the NHL since forever, I think 17 years, spent most of it with Anaheim. Colorado, with less than 4 minutes left to go in the game, they were making a line change, had too many men on the ice, and Corey Perry from Tampa just started screaming at the linesman face, and then you could see that like glare over the ice, and he started counting, and he blew the play dead. They had 7 men on the ice, and in the ensuing power play, Tampa scored the go-ahead goal, and Vasilevsky finally showed up to the NHL Stanley Cup final with only allowing 2 goals.
Yeah, when this started, I had openly admitted that I think it was time for Tampa to, hopefully lose a Stanley Cup opportunity. They won 2 in a row, and the Avalanche are just a young, really, really talented team. So hopefully, the Avs can get it done. They only need to win 1. Tampa's got to come out and win 2 now. So I'm still rooting for the Avs here, and let's go Avalanche.
Yeah, I go back and forth on it. I don't really care who wins. I just want to see a good playoff.
I said 6 or 17.
Yeah, 6 or 7.
Yeah.
The over under. What's great is the over and under is 6.5. So you guys are like right in there.
I don't think they're going to be as bad as like most people think they'll be.
They lost. I think what was it, 12 or 13 straight last year coming out the gate, and they still ended up with 3 wins. Like,
yeah, but I mean that whole team wants to play for Dan Campbell, and they got better in the offseason.
They did get better. And again, Ryan, you and I have talked about this several times. That team does want to play for Dan Campbell. He has done something with that locker room where those guys are bought in, and it's going to play dividends.
Most three-win teams are miserable. They look hype as shit to play football. Plus, they lost a lot of one-score games.
They a lot of one-score games. The first game that they lost that wasn't a one-score game was when they came to Philadelphia. That was the first game they lost that wasn't a one-score game.
And pretty much, unless you're an elite tier team, everybody takes a loss like that.
Yeah, true.
I mean, the Bengals absolutely trounced the Ravens last year.
Twice.
Yeah.
I've got the Lions at 7 wins. I got them doing the over on that one, 6.5. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good line to set because 6 or 7, it really like that's all of those like can they steal a game type questions.
I think they get a few more wins than they did last year, specifically because their division isn't really any better. Losing Devontae Adams out of the division is huge. I know Aaron Rodgers is still the quarterback there, but we've already talked about Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. The Vikings are, in my opinion, the division leader here, the Vikings. And listen, you've heard Ryan and I talk. We're not huge on Kirk Cousins. However, we can't deny that he puts up 4,800 yards and 30-plus touchdowns a season.
Well, and apparently they're going to be a pass-first offense this year, according to Justin Jefferson, because they switched out offensive coordinators. I think Kevin O'Connell's up there.
Yeah, he's a huge passing coordinator.
Yeah.
I hear Dalvin Cook's going to get a lot of passes out the backfield again.
I mean, if they weren't pass-heavy before and they're pass-heavy now, I'm stoked to have Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, Howie Roseman should probably go back and want to redo that draft all over again too.
Yeah, but see, like with the way that the rest of history is played out, like imagine having like Justin Jefferson, either Devonta Smith or AJ Brown, because we wouldn't have both at this point, and like a quarterback who runs first. Like what a waste of talent.
Yeah,
that's true. Now we still have AJ Brown and Devontae Smith and a quarterback that runs
first. So what a waste of talent. Yeah, I know.
I mean, I hear
now we have a quarterback that runs first.
I hear Hurts and Brown been working all off season.
I hear Patrick Mahomes wants to come to Philadelphia. That's fake news, guys. Don't listen to that.
Oh, there was no part of me that believed that for even a second.
Well, it's not you guys. It's everybody else because all we do is spit facts on this show. I wanted to lie one time to see who I could get to buy into that.
And then you really
right now that Patrick Mahomes wants to go to Philadelphia.
But yeah. All right. We did a solid 45 minutes of BSing sports, which is what the show was always supposed to be about. BSing sports.
Tim, we might have you do an intro one time.
Okay.
You better get ready, dog. You need to break the ice. You need a beer or something before you come on the show.
You're a part of this.
Does Sanders get 1,000 yards? No way. What?
I'm going to bring it up. You're dumb.
This is no.
I mean, speaking about who's dumb is someone who made.
Yeah, speaking of dumb.
Someone
Didn't you just bet he's going to be a top 12 running back?
So Sanders has never really been a solid pass catcher, Dad. So no, I don't think
No.
No.
I don't think,
Now,
yeah, I don't think his
I don't think that
receiving game
either.
is as much of a.
having said that, I am going to defend my bet because the bet started when we were talking about him being top 12, and then somehow it got maneuvered into top 10, and I don't think he'll be a top 10 running back. I still do firmly
Top
believe
10
he'll be a top
overall.
12 running back. What's that?
You said top 10 overall.
I think he'll be a
I
top
think he'll be
12.
a top 10 overall running back. Like that's kind of what I took it as. I mean, obviously he's not going to be a top 10 fantasy player. There's no way.
No,
Outside of Christian McCaffrey or Derrick Henry, if Derrick Henry gets the same workload, I don't see any running backs like this year being able to make top 10. Not even Jonathan Taylor.
I agree.
JT's overrated. I read a stat the other day that he had the lowest fantasy points in a season for an RB1 in like 7 years.
I saw that on TikTok the other day too.
But yeah, no, I listen. He's not going to not score touchdowns all season long. It's not going to happen again. He's going to get a majority of the workload unless he shows that he can't handle it. He's in a good position because the linebackers can't stack the box, safeties can't stack the box because now you've got Devontae Smith and AJ Brown on the outside. Dallas Goedert has proven himself as a strong pass catching tight end, and he's getting better at blocking. So when you come at me and say, "Oh, Miles Sanders is just not going to be good enough to do this," I disagree simply because of all the stuff that's going on around him. He's going to benefit from the A.J. Brown signing. Again, safeties and linebackers can't stack the box, and we've seen what Miles Sanders can do when they don't stack the box against him. He can break off huge runs, get lots of yards, and he can score touchdowns, and I expect him to do it this year.
I would like to point out another interesting stat. Since we've been on for 46 minutes and 37 seconds, that means for 6 minutes and 37 seconds consecutively, my dog has been licking my foot.
That's weird.
Yeah, you know what? Sometimes you just got to give the
You
dog
gotta
a bone. Throw him a bone.
Take one for the team. Like,
Yeah, it's better than him jumping up here and being all in the camera. So, and he's being quiet.
I'd much
So,
rather see Doc's face than yours.
no,
I would much rather see Doc's face than mine.
I concur. Either of my dog's face over mine, yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
I thought about getting him a companion. All right, well, that's not sports related. We'll talk about that off camera. That
So
being said, let's go ahead and close out this show, guys. Thank you for another great episode of BSing Sports. As Diana pointed out, it is very nice to have a difference of opinions on the show. You know, 3 opinions is better than one of the same for the most part, because Bill and I tend to agree a lot. So that being said,
foolish minds tend to do that.
Tim, thanks for season 2, episode 3. Welcome on as the seasonal host again. However long this season may last, I don't really know. We haven't really decided that yet.
Yeah, we haven't gone over that, yeah.
Tune in next week. We'll be back, obviously. Bill said he has some kind of weird surprise for us in the beginning of the show. I didn't ask what it is because I wanted it to be a surprise. So thanks for coming out, and have a good weekend, guys.
Yeah, thanks for wow, what's my tagline again? Thanks for joining us on BSing Sports, where we do a little BS and we talk a whole lot of sports. Have a good night.
Damn, you forgot.